Patty is here for this right now. We'll call everybody minus Patty and after Patty was here.
She's at a conference in Neenah.
She'll
Sure.
be by 7.
No.
What?
She will not be here.
Well, we're all kind of scrambling to get here.
Bob?
Mark will not be here.
Oh, no.
He's good. He's good. Personal. Yeah. Everybody go. Well, we set to go?
Well,
Okay. I'll just let everybody forward up and.
yeah.
Okay. So I guess the first part of this work session is item 1. We're going to talk about any bylaw changes that we want to make. Meeting format.
Yeah, so I had met with Mark for a short period last week.
Okay.
Just to kind of go over, I had given him some draft language for bylaw 0166. I can't remember if I sent that out to all of you at the meeting or not, at our last meeting.
I didn't.
We didn't.
Yeah,
Do
I
you
didn't have it, if you have it there, you can send it down.
I have it somewhere in here, but I have it written down right here, and I thought I had it right in the.
So it's policy 166?
Yeah, and, but Mark, when Mark and I talked about it, he wasn't as comfortable with that change. You know, the language I had put, and I'm pretty sure that we had talked about it, because it was language that said, you know, upon the, should the board president decline to include an agenda item requested by a board member, that the member may email his or her request to the entire board with a copy to the district administrator. Is that all ringing a bell now?
Yeah.
So instead of doing that, Mark seemed to want to give, because we'll all have an opportunity after the work session to suggest topics for future.
Okay.
And at that time, so it wouldn't violate, we wouldn't be in any worry of violating an open meetings law. We could, if somebody doesn't want it, if you have concurrence of the board, then
Right.
you can do So I'm good with that,
Okay.
as long as we're in the work session type.
Yep.
There are a couple others that, need to be looked at, I think, and, one was 0151, which by the way is in our bylaws, as our annual meeting starts at 8 PM. And
Yeah.
we specifically set 7 PM,
Yep.
so we wanna change that. And I don't know, do you change your bylaws just annually, or at any time?
No, that's a good question. I don't know.
Because I think normally they're done annually, at like an organizational type meeting.
We were all trying to figure out why it was set at 8, well, it could very well be because of the
It's in the
bylaws.
bylaws. So, I'd rather have Mark here, I think, when we
Yeah.
make that, so.
Yeah.
And there was one other one which related to the committees, and it referenced the committees. So if it's okay with everyone, we have time to put together some actual language for those two other issues.
Can
And I
you run
won't-
those, I'm sorry, can you run those numbers by?
Yeah, it was
Okay.
151 and 155.
You said 166 is,
166 was the agenda
oh,
portion, yes,
sure.
which
Yeah,
we're
okay.
gonna leave as is, unless somebody else wants it. So that was it for me.
All right.
Yeah.
Anything else on that? Yeah, I think having a work session format allows some of those things just to come up.
Yeah.
Because we're not making a decision on it, so it's basically, I don't say a free flow, but
Kind of at the end.
if we got something we want to bring it up and get a little consensus, and maybe there's something that could be answered or.
Well, it would always be like business items. so.
Yeah. As far as bylaws, I don't know if we're at liberty to change those when something does come up.
I can contact, I'm sorry, Maria, I was gonna say, I can research and contact Stu Wall from Neola to get his take on it. I can send him a note tomorrow.
It's probably in our bylaws. But sure, that's easier.
But we'll get his official take on it
Okay.
too, to reference the bylaw.
All right.
Does anyone know how much we pay to Neola to host our policies?
Can you remember, Dave, is it in the?
Off the top of your head.
There was an initial cost for all the sessions that we went through, but the ongoing cost of that will look up, it would be less on an annual basis. But I can look that up.
Thank you. That's what I thought it was, 10 or 12. You said it was 30? I don't remember.
30 what?
It was, but then when we thought about how much time it would take for someone to retype them all,
Yeah.
and we've been trying to do it since Mrs. Beeler was here, and it really wasn't a good process, hadn't happened. So it just made more sense to put down that money, to have them continually updated, and they had the added bonus of doing it for so many other districts. They made us aware of policies we maybe weren't aware of, and they kept up to date by law changes as well.
I gotcha.
So it made pretty good sense to us at the time.
So we don't know when we can, so you submit these to Neola.
They actually send it to us.
Right.
We kind of review them on it as soon as the law changes.
Once you decide on a change, though.
Even without, but yes, once we propose a change, yes, that's where, right, Rochelle, that's how it went back for them.
And I know Stu has been trying to get in touch with Dr. Bezek. They have been in touch, and I believe he's been in once to go over the process and kind of give him a heads up of what's coming.
It was thanks to Kelly and Tom really reading through them initially and saying, oh my goodness, we still had something about a pig in a meeting or something, I don't know, something absolutely ridiculous. And I knew from my time, we hadn't gotten through even a third of them. And so we needed a better process, so that was when, you know, looking.
Yeah, I think the drinking age was 18 with a lot of those policies. Now, some were from
Yes, it was-
82 and
there was quite-
way back there, but some are relevant, but, okay. Item 2, unless we have more on first one. Item 2 is the new agenda format that Mark's gonna discuss, which will probably be real short since he's not here. One thing I was confused on for the agenda was our consent portion of it. And I just talked to Rochelle to clear that up. If you notice, the consent agenda is not listed on the agenda. It is in the packet. So
Oh.
just for your awareness,
Oh, that's a problem.
that if you review your packet,
Yeah, I
the
did.
consent's gonna be in there, and it's the very end. So, that was one item, and then we can talk about how we want that to look, if we want it on the agenda, or if it's okay for it to be in the packet. Then I can share with you my thoughts.
Okay.
My thought is if the packet's available to the public, it's okay to be in the packet. But if the packet's not available to the public, I mean, out there, here's the packet prior to the meeting, so people can see it. I'm okay with it. Otherwise, I think I would like it listed on the agenda, so people are aware of it, so when they do pull up their agenda, you can see the consent portion of it.
One of the agendas are out here. But the consent agenda, those consents
Or,
aren't listed on the agenda. And I will
Not on the one that's on the website?
I did check that, I just looked at what I had
Oh.
for the agenda that I'd be reading off of tonight, so I don't know.
It's at the very bottom, but what the public sees is only the lines like you alluded to, Bob, it's not the whole.
Oh, it is for the board meeting. Okay.
Pardon?
The consent agenda is listed. for
Right.
Meeting, just not our work session, is that what you're talking about?
Nope. So, item 8, our
Yeah.
regular monthly meeting does have consent agenda.
Yeah.
Item A just has the minutes. And then it's got the recommendation of the approval of the regular sessions and everything, and the approval of the special session on the 13th. But it lacks a little bit of transparency on what would be contained in the consent agenda.
Got it.
Does anyone else follow me? Or is am I lost on my own little island?
So normal, our previous agenda, it was up at the top.
Right.
And it just listed in A, B, C, D, E, F, G order, the minutes and any hirings or resignations and the board bills, right?
Anything that was consent qualifying, let's call it.
So is that covered in section 8, all of those topics? Is that your concern, that they are not, or that it's at the end of the agenda, or?
At the end of the agenda, you would think it would be up towards the top, because if you want to move something to an action item, you know right away.
Right, and then I did ask Mark about that, he goes, then the action would come right after it. So you pull it off and go right down to,
Well, and that's fine, there's nothing wrong with that. That's actually better.
so you want, you said be right away.
Yeah, then you don't, then you don't have to leave it for a while, you go right into it. I like that.
So what I was referring to is, we just don't have all the bills, or this,
Oh, have
the
them all
listed,
listed separately?
itemized, you know, bang, this is what we're approving for the consent, so it's not, real transparent.
Okay.
Right,
Yeah.
so, and I said, if the packet was available prior, and someone wanted to look at, well, here's the agenda, here's the packet, here's the consent, here's all the information, then I'm comfortable with it, personally speaking. But if it's not out there, I, maybe a little reservation on, we're trying to be transparent, that kind of is a step in the wrong direction.
No, I don't see why it can't be on there. because you can't rely on everybody to look at it online. You should have it in both places.
And I was kind of assuming that we're in somewhat of a transition process. And I was hoping that we would, through this continued process, get to a point that our agenda was linked to the individual packet pieces.
Right.
So that someone could click on board bills and see the 10 pages that are board bills that would be in the packet. Or they could, click on the recommendation for the minutes and go right to those specific minutes.
And that's what it would
And
look like.
that would be out as soon as the agenda is posted online, so that people would have the opportunity to review any of those pieces and ask questions. if they
Yep.
needed. But again, I know that we're in a transition process and there's lots of things going on.
Yeah.
So I agree with you, I think the packet piece should be there and hope that it eventually will kind of be one piece that is our agenda and our packet.
And I get that the consent agenda is just really small, that's why I was like, but it doesn't look like we have everything in there, it just was,
You're right though, Bob, that it's not as detailed because previously it would have listed the specific positions with the names. And I know some other districts are even more specific, that they actually list the salary right in the agenda.
Yep.
And I think that level of specificity is transparent and a good thing.
I agree. Other than that, any other discussions?
Only that I like the idea of listing the breakout of what's in the consent agenda. I'm not a fan or in favor of listing the exact salaries. I don't think we need to create issues. If someone would like that information, they can ask for it and request it. It's public information. But it does not say that we have to publicly publicize it. So I would be reticent, or actually, I would be opposed to posting the salaries in there. We want people that work together as a team, and I don't want salaries to become an issue between team members. And I'm concerned that could unnaturally or naturally happen.
Well, I'll put that down for next month. Type of time. Okay. Have some discussion on that. Everyone's got the Pledge of Allegiance memorized? How's it?
We moved one in this afternoon.
Oh,
We
right
temporarily
there.
put the main office ones here until we order size appropriate ones for this room.
I thought Obama was coming, so I wasn't sure. Not done. So we'll get through it, it's just a lot different looking, and to be real honest, I was a little intimidated on some of it. Obviously, I don't know that, when I call the meeting to order, go to the pledge, I can verbally talk about the district mission, the district vision, the core strategies, but I don't think I'm gonna talk about the protocol reminders, because just maybe I'll say, if you wanna reference them, or, take notice of them. I don't think I'm gonna go through, unless you guys want me to. It seems kinda awkward. No side-by discussion. No, it's, kinda feels like I'm scolding people for, it's just like, well, here, just run a video by protocol.
I didn't know it would have to be on every single one. I thought they were just our protocols. So, I'm with you.
Unless you don't want me to do any verbally, these are a couple of things I was trying to figure out how to run the meeting.
I don't think it's needed, I think that we should know.
And I think Mark wants it to give a vision and.
Yep, yep,
Yeah.
that part I knew, but basically the protocol.
I don't mind having it on there, I don't know that we need to read them off
Right.
every time.
I'm sure what is informing Mark's desire to have this on here and review it is research on effective teams. And the fact that taking a minute of your meeting to read over these again helps teams work effectively together. And, you know, what I mean, so maybe saying item E, invite all the board members to review our protocols.
Yeah, that's what I was.
Yeah.
You know, and
That would be fine.
we can take a minute and read it.
It seemed like a parenting role. So, you know. All right, thanks for that. And then on the approval of the agenda comes up F. And reports. Form. There's a red card, so we need to find out the best mechanism to get people who wanna bring someone forward to the board from the public, how we can get them, I guess, to understand that there's a red card, they fill it out, Michelle collects them, I look at them, just to make sure there's no personal information that is being talked about, or if it's something that, you know, this is an easy question, I'm just gonna maybe reach out to the person and say, high school principal answer that question. Is everybody okay with that format?
Yeah.
I like it.
I like
It's a
it too.
great idea. It helps people, I think it should or could help people really focus on what their goal is or their thoughts are.
Bob, were you planning on taking a short break after 2D with the recognition that we have in the past?
Yes. Yeah.
So that might be an opportunity just to announce that the next portion of our meeting is the open forum, and if you're interested in speaking,
Yep. Perfect. I'm so nervous, thank you.
change is hard. It's good for us to be put in the
Yeah.
position we've been putting our
Yeah,
teachers in for a
let's
long time.
videotape the first one too. What's going on around here? Sweating bullets. You know how long it took me to do my makeup? How you guys do that, the eyelash thing?
Did you get out the curler?
Contacts all over the place.
Are you being recorded right now?
I hope so. It's good stuff. And then, enhanced learning, cultivating the professional growth of learning. Engage the community partnership. I think this is the part where I just mentioned, First National Community Bank's donation. Good time to,
Which part is that in?
item 6.
I know Mark's been out. I think we have a policy that we have to approve anything over $250,000. Or sorry, over $250. Totally misspoke. But I think our donation policy says that the board has to approve any donations over $250.
I think I don't know that we have to approve it. I did fire through, Mark did say, hey, you know, how do we handle this in the past? Here's the policy. It said that we needed to, we could recognize that we did reserve the right to decline. And there was a certain protocol of, you can't, you know, not race, creed, gender based, but if there was something that wasn't a donation from an inappropriate source, which there could be something that we had reserved the right to say, you know, no, this is not acceptable. I think it's another policy we need to take a look at and just kind of clean it up.
Any idea what the number on that one is? I'll write it down.
Yeah.
7230.
Thank you, Rachel.
Says the Board of Education is appreciative of public interest in the goodwill towards the school. Schools manifested through gifts, grants, and requests, the board reserves the right, however, to specify in the manner in which the gifts are made, define the type of gift, grant, or request in which it considers appropriate, and to reject those it deems inappropriate or unsuitable. If accepted, the board will attempt to carry out the wishes of the donor. The board shall not discriminate in the acceptance of administration of gifts, grants, requests on the basis of sex, race, color, national origin, ancestry, creed, pregnancy, marriage, complaints, discrimination, acceptance. The board shall provide written acknowledgement to the donor of any accepted cash donation of $250 or more, and any non-cash donation, the value of which is $250 or more. Such acknowledgement shall include the amount of cash or a description of any non-cash donation along with a good faith estimate of the value of non-cash donation. And there's more to the policy.
We don't want to prove it or something.
So being that's what I read over like 3 times just to make sure that we weren't violating it. Did anyone get that somewhere in there? We should approve it. It kind of takes a really kind of strange curve to it.
No, it seems like there are reasons why you can't do it. But not,
I just wondered if you didn't have a formal item that you were accepting it, if that's what the language says, then how do you have the formal opportunity to have a discussion to not accept it? You know,
Yeah, exactly. That's why I think we need to look at the policy to just kind of clean it
I
up.
think the policy actually has guidance on what can be accepted and what cannot. And it was delineated more, maybe I'm thinking of the one that advertised.
It says what cannot be is if it's something that the board reserves the right to refuse to accept such liability if there's something that they bought us an airplane and a parachute, thank you, but no, we're not gonna let kids go skydiving, something like that.
There is a policy out there though that when we were looking at advertisements, that might help us pull together, you know, when we were looking at what could be advertised or what could not
Yeah.
be. Maybe we can pull the 2 of those together to,
Yep.
so one of them gives, if there's any kind of a way of helping us, if we need to work on it more. But I don't remember what that was under.
I guess if you would approve it, you just don't make any action on it. Maybe you approve it that way.
one, and maybe the language is literally a motion to accept the donation from
Yep.
yada, yada, yada. I mean, I think it's great to publicly acknowledge. I think it sets up the process that if there's concerns, it offers the opportunity for discussion.
Yep,
Um,
I agree. I think we should, so, because I think it puts it out there so that there is some
yeah.
individual or this organization doing.
Well, in this particular one, I think it would be great to have one of the students or Ms. Granberg present, because it's a process that the students are receiving a grant, but also have to, through their process, return some of the money to the bank or pay it back.
Right.
And they had to write up a business plan, and so it would be good, I think, as a board member to be informed of that whole piece.
I'm gonna have my son drop off his truck as a donation.
No.
You can't apparently reject it. Its value's gotta be over $250.
So for tonight, Bob, could we, in that section, acknowledge the donation and just note that next month, we're hoping to have a presentation from the students, and there we could.
That would be great. And have them
I think everything else just kind of goes, item 7, is basically Advanced service and operations is the new action item. And then a consent agenda and general information, I suppose it's a tie-in to the, anything else coming up? Is there a choir or band, or is the soccer team still playing, or is?
Soccer finished off.
Yeah.
And now it's gone.
Shoot.
But there is choir tonight.
And, okay, and then I don't see, the adjournment section.
Oh,
So,
where is that?
we're here till we start the 24-hour emergency meeting. Any other questions on the agenda? Too much time on that.
So for tonight, is that something that at the beginning when we approve the agenda, we need to modify it to add a item 10 to adjourn?
Sure, yeah, that's a good idea. Thank you.
I'm trying to become good friends with Robert's rules.
Right. Dave, anything on the business meeting agenda format?
Are you asking if there's something I'd like to talk about, or if there's something about the format?
Well, it actually says walk through new business meeting agenda. Mark's not here, so I don't know if I was missing something. And I didn't know what he was gonna talk about, so I just was selfish and tried to talk about the agenda, so relieve me a little bit.
I guess it's my understanding that this is just, the business meeting, we talk about anything at all.
Yep.
Possibly including, school business related items. So as far as the format, I was kind of hoping to learn a little more myself.
I think we have to wait another month.
From my understanding of Mark's vocabulary is he refers to the work sessions as what's our committee meetings are becoming now.
Yep.
And he calls our regular sessions business meetings.
Okay.
I don't know, that must be a Minnesota thing.
That must be.
But, I mean, I think his definition is the work session is where you discuss and learn.
Okay.
There's no action taken.
Yep.
And then the business meeting,
Got it.
what we've typically called a regular session,
Got it.
is where action's taken.
Okay, so I was talking. All right.
So then if we use his reference, we'll probably need to come up with a different one for the financial side, or we're gonna do all of that on, we don't have a business committee anymore.
I think that would be at the work session.
Yeah.
The work session.
Right.
Business.
Right.
Maybe a lot.
I do like monthly meeting.
There's a phrase that needs to be,
Bob, Rochelle and I did have one question for the board, and that was with placement of, so within the consent agenda, you have the checks,
Yeah,
but we also include revenues, we include cash flow, we include expenditures and revenues, all that information. We're wondering where you would prefer to have that. Right now, we put it in under the general reports. The general reports heading,
Yeah.
so if that works, that's what we'll do, but if you'd like it somewhere else. It didn't have its own letter under general reports, but it's data that we've always provided. And so we just thought that would be the place to put it, but it didn't need a separate discussion point.
right.
Because there's nothing that needs to be approved about it.
Correct.
It's just information.
That's a good place for it.
Yeah. So do you guys feel that that should be a separate letter eventually in that section?
Yes, probably. And then if they do the cross-checking, he can go to revenue and click on that report individually.
So monthly financial reports?
Yeah.
That works.
that. Trying to watch the time here. Board compensations, item 3. Nancy's taking the lead on that.
I did a little research. Just some area districts to see how they compensated board members. And as you know, I objected to us being like treated like employees with salary, and then, you know, you have the additional of the committee meetings. So that's what I started out at. You know, I just kind of objected to us being employee types. So then I did my research. And I can tell you that St. Croix Central has a stipend for their president, clerk, and treasurer. And then all their members receive additional $50 per meeting, $60 for this and $60 for that. River Falls has a separate salary. One salary is $400 more, just straight salary for president, clerk, and treasurer. And then $3,000 for all other board members. No additional for extra meetings, your work sessions, committee meetings, whatever you want to call them. And Richmond does the same thing, only theirs is a flat fee, salary, I guess, for all of the meetings. And so after I thought about that for a while, I thought, I really want us to consider it. Just doing a flat fee, it doesn't matter how many, and that gives Craig, our finance department, something we can rely on. So we're not getting, you know, like we had so many meetings when going through this hiring process, and you can't budget for that then. So I will say that I will bring this up for our consideration. You have to change it according to the bylaws at the annual meeting. So I want us to consider that though. Okay? So it won't be on the next agenda.
So when is the agenda for the annual meeting set?
It hasn't changed a whole lot from year to year, so it's.
I think Mark wants to make some changes though, so.
I have to look it up and see when we can do that. 'Cause most of the time, it's just filler to abide by the state statutes. As long as the content's there, that's.
So if there's items you want to add to it, is that what you're referring to, or?
I just know that the first year, when I looked at the WASB packet recommendations for the annual meeting, it certainly was different than what I experienced attending my first annual meeting. And like this year, the packet wasn't available until you got here, or the agenda. So there wasn't even an opportunity to think about that language ahead of time, to have gathered some information and make a recommendation and have the verbiage worked out before the meeting. So I was just curious about the timeline and, you know, when that agenda is created and when it's posted, and the same thing with the packet, but it's potentially an opportunity for us, again, to increase our transparency and.
So I don't know on the salary, I think that it goes into, somebody makes a motion from the public to modify that change of compensation. You get a second, and then I think you take a vote of annual meeting, really, the meeting of the community.
Right, so
I didn't think about that. The county board was on there.
And we can
We
actually.
can't make a recommendation.
Or an agenda, it's technically ours to do it as it appears. So if you did have something you felt strongly about, bring it up, or make the motion, put that forward. And part of it's as we learn more about it, things come to mind that we would like to see change. And that does initiate or motivates us to
Yep.
do some research, so.
Mhm. Okay.
I think part of it too, I can see why it's always our goal to try and make it so we can budget more accurately. But a budget is usually your guidance, rather than, you know, being able to say, okay, right to the letter. So things do change throughout the year. but it's good to have a guideline, so. This was an unusual year. For
Was
another
that-
meeting.
No, I agree, but, yeah. That's crazy.
We went over budget. Right, right. Yeah, we did.
Yep.
That's the board went over its own budget.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. Anything further on? Item 92, work session and business meeting agendas.
That was kind of weird.
Yeah, but that didn't address work session items.
Oh,
So who makes the work session agendas? Is that you and Mark?
Yeah, so what I'm doing right now, maybe this will help you, is I'm just putting down salaries, what's staff hirings, donation levels, compensation fees. Let's talk about our next work session, comes up now, if there's something that comes up afterwards.
Yep.
And I like how he's left that item 8 on there to help us facilitate adding to.
And that was
Yeah.
for the board meetings.
But I think it could,
Yeah.
Be used for both.
Yeah.
And I think anything that goes on at work session, I don't know, do you, I'd make an assumption that if something was requested, it goes on the work session, and there's some potential something else could go on the business meeting, so I think there's two separate things we might wanna
Mhm.
decide. I don't wanna ever say no to having something on a monthly meeting agenda. And unless it's going to not be a positive conversation and that makes us look foolish or, you know, or if there's, you know, we have the answer, we'll find it type of thing, and I don't know.
It'll be interesting how it plays out too, because if we discuss it at the work session and we talk about putting it on, we can't do it at that meeting, so
Right.
that's.
We can't
this is
do it
like,
right
Yeah, that
next-
time way.
Next month. There might be some urgency to get it on there, but.
Well, you can't do it on the next one, I mean, the following, is it not the work session?
No, let's say, you know, tonight somebody calls, say, oh, well, I think it goes on both, the work session, and it probably should go on to, as a discussion piece, to the business meeting. You know, if someone were to call next week. Yep, okay, if there was something.
Are you meaning, Maria, are you meaning if something, if something came up tonight, we couldn't get it on tonight? Right, yeah.
So our work sessions are gonna be one week, skip a week, and then the week, is that kind of? how
Right,
it's gonna be?
yeah, it's not gonna back up, so
Then
that
it-
we
yeah.
will have,
Yeah.
yeah. So that makes sense.
So at this point, just so I'm clear, if there's a item agenda that I'd like to request during item 8, when we go once around the table, we can do it, or I could email you and Mark if it's outside of the meeting.
Yeah, and is the clerk come into play on this too, for stuff? Or maybe it's 2 other board members, or I don't, or maybe that's to hold the meeting? I think it's to hold the meeting, and then.
Well, that's what Katie was talking about with the policy for setting agendas.
We're putting that aside for now, so it is just as it says right now, just up to you and Mark.
It is a delicate one, because in different municipalities and different governments, different people do contribute to it, so
Yeah,
it's worth the discussion.
yeah.
So,
Let's see how it works.
Budget referendum discussion? That's your deal.
So I had asked, remember last month, I had asked for a little time to talk about selling our short-term borrowing note, which we did this morning. Or we received bids this morning, we'll finalize it tonight. And also the final update to the budget for the year, for the Fund 10 budget. So, we just heard, just when you mentioned it, that Patty wasn't going to be here, so I've been back and forth with our bond attorney for signatures. We have a bunch of signatures on our document. And it looks like we can just have Nancy as clerk sign in place, so that will work. And that's my fault, I haven't historically checked on that. I've received the information if board members aren't gonna be here, but obviously I should have checked prior to this meeting to see if anybody's gonna be missing. So, we sold that, we received bids this morning. We had 2 bids, from DOK Financial and from Oppenheimer. And the winning bid was from DOK Financial, the lowest bid, the net interest cost $18,641, and the net effective interest rate 1.10871. I asked our bond attorneys if that's typical, and they said that's right in the range they're seeing right now. Every year that I've been here, we've had Baird submit a bid as well. This year they didn't. I asked if there's anything specific to our district related to that, and they said that they've been pulling back from the market this fall and not buying as much. So that would also be typical. So, long story short, it sounds like we have a market typical result. 2 bids, we've had 2 in prior years as well. The last few years we've had 3. So I would say overall, it was a good result. And pretty close to what we expected. Any questions about the cash flow borrow?
It's a little bit higher amount than in the past too, correct?
The amount we're borrowing? No, it's lower.
Is it?
Last year was 1.9.
Oh, 1.9.
This
Last
year
year,
was
that's right,
1.7.
1.7. It does surprise me that Baird doesn't, so they just said.
They
it's
do,
their
they
fault
do,
that-
which is they're not as much, because there's many districts offering these tax and revenue anticipatory notes right now for cash flow borrowing. And historically, Baird would bid on
Yeah.
many of them.
Yeah, because schools are usually pretty safe investments.
Or is it because it's not a lot of money where they go after, Bear would go after some bigger dollars?
Or does our rating factor?
No, they actually, the bond attorney told me that even on the ones that they are bidding on, recently, they're not doing the full amount. So it seems like their investors' appetites for the moment are
Alright.
smaller for bonds.
Are they waiting until after the election?
They know something we do.
So that's the cash flow borrowing. This is the packet, and Marie, once this is approved, I'll need your signature as well, so maybe after the concert.
I'll come back, yeah.
This is for the referendum discussion.
This is
No, I'm not,
short-term.
so I'm not sure what that means, the heading. The 2 things that I requested to figure out were the cash flow and the
Short-term.
alternate budget information. So I don't know what that agenda
I
item
can say something about that.
means explicitly.
Yeah.
Well, I'll just finish up quickly
Yeah.
then, and you can do that. So this is, you notice in the financial reports, that the budget isn't in Skyward yet. We've talked about this before, but this will be the breakdown that goes into Skyward. This is the final expenditure and revenue budget, based on free credit count, open enrollment, final estimates. All the best information we have leading up to the whole budget development process. Up till right now, this is the best information. So this is the final update. So when you look at the reports now, you see obviously the zeros in the budget. This will be calculated for your next one, so you can see percentage in the year-to-date in comparison with the prior 2 years as well. So the number that we're approving today is the total for the general fund expenditure. That's the $16,975,154.42. If we were to want to amend the budget at any level, we would we would break it down on the summary levels that we have here. We wouldn't just say we're changing it by $10,000 the total. We point out where within this breakdown it would be, or if we were changing between those functions. On the back side, this is the DPI tax levy report. I entered all the data that corresponds to our final revenue limit calculation into it so that I could print this out for you so you can see the final estimates for municipalities. So this is, in the agenda, you can see the Fund 10 levy. That's that top dollar amount of $5,018,697. That's the general fund operating levy. That's the levy we approved. And so we approved the original budget, we approved the levy, and then we approved the sale of the cash flow borrow. Any questions related to any of these things? I should mention, the initial budget deficit was 45,398 deficit. With these updated numbers, it's 66,055 deficit. Like I said, this updated with the September count. Our count actually went up a little bit, which within the revenue formula means that the revenue available to us went down a little bit because it levels over 3 years, it's a 3-year average. Additionally, we got our final open enrollment count, and we also break it down with different numbers this year for regular ed or special ed. So the open enrollment out was a little bit higher, open enrollment in was a little bit higher too. The open enrollment out was kind of gained on that a little bit. So all these things together, like I said, this is the ultimate version of the budget based on our best knowledge right now.
Does this take into account the 4 most recent open enrollments out?
If it was in for the September count, it's in that.
Okay, so it is for that, okay.
And that'll be an adjustment for the, if that remains, that'll be an adjustment for the January count. So that would have a little effect. But we always use a, or rather, I always use a percentage. This year, 95% of what our actual FTE calculation is for open enrollment because things change. People will come and then leave, or they'll leave and then come back. It's rarely, I haven't seen it 100%, so we estimate relatively close.
Hey, can you tell me what on the other page, what the non-referendum debt levy is, that 182?
Sure, that's our Fund 38, and within that is the money that was used to build this building, which opened in 2010, and also to put on the new high school roof. So there's a limit, cumulative amount funded through that Fund 38 is $1 million principal, and so we've used it twice, and now we're paying it down. I didn't print one off. You can go to the website, you can see when that actually drops off our books. If you go to business services, debt service, you can see the chart and the timeline as well. And that, the thing about Fund 38, the non-referendum, is that it's all under the revenue limit. So when we stop using Fund 38, then that's available for operations, to fund that. But at the same time, it's a mechanism where we can pay for something like this building over a period of time rather than all at once. So again, the two numbers to approve are the expenditure, general fund overall amount, and then the general fund operating levy. So that's what we would do with the business review.
So we have the 5 million item, 5,018,000.
Right, so the,
697 for the operating levy, and then, your other one was,
so on 7A, agenda 7A, that will be the 16,975,154.42. 7B is shown the 5,018,697, and then the 7C.
so my question, you're gonna answer is,
Sorry.
no, do you want that 16 million listed in the motion?
That wouldn't hurt. Oh, I thought you meant written down. Yes, it should be stated.
And the, just 16 million, because it's not, what's that, this one? 975. 12 cents, 42 cents.
I have a round, if you want a round, you can, and I'll update it, but that's how the numbers go into my spreadsheet, so I'm just don't worry about it. If you'd rather have it rounded, we can round it.
As long as it carried your one. Okay. Sorry, that's all I wanted to clarify then. 'Cause I saw the amounts, but I didn't see the top.
Thank you.
And I didn't want it to be a panic or something.
Thank you, Dave, for this, and also for what you included in the packet as part of the description. I think it's always helpful.
Oh,
to have that.
that's great too.
And that's our expenditure, not our revenue.
Correct, we don't.
So both 16, I just want to make sure I was talking right, 16 million. Okay.
Can I just say something real quickly about this?
You up, Rondo?
Yeah, that was our budget referendum.
Yeah?
But just for that, I thought we were talking about a general discussion going forward with the referendum next year.
Nope, I don't think so. Or were we?
It sounds, the way it's worded there, I would have thought possibly that too.
Okay. On 5?
I think that's what Mark had said he wanted
I don't know.
to do. But
Okay.
I just wanna, back at the end of August, I was listening to the county's committee of the whole meeting. And, they were proposing, one of the supervisors proposed a $3 million a year item to go on a referendum, a binding referendum for next year. And I heard that and I thought, oh my goodness, that was to fund their capital improvement program. So, I panicked a little bit because I thought if here in our school district, if they have $3 million on them, if they wind up going to referendum, and you have two separate ones, one from the county, one from us. So I did send an email and I copied Mark, and I just wanted to, it sounds as if they're not going to do that, but I wanted to bring two things to your attention. One is, there are no other elections next year, so we'll be paying for this on our own if we go to referendum. And number two, please watch out for other municipalities within the district who may be looking at referendum at the same time.
Yeah, there's some municipalities that are not doing well on their road aid.
What's that? Townships?
Are challenged by the.
some towns in the area, all of them, and so that's been some discussion.
And if we did a fast referendum to Eagle, and there's always that election, like we did it, so that would be it. Too fast for my comfort.
I have just a brief update on that. As part of all the work to get the refinancing done that you approved previously, I've been doing due diligence calls with our bond counsel. We had a rating call last week. So there's a lot of discussion, especially with the rating call, because they're asking a lot about what is a financial position. You had a referendum that failed, what is your outlook, all these different things. And so I talked to Mark about that specifically as well, and I would expect, Mark can confirm or deny, but I would expect we're going to get into the really bigger discussions about that. What is his perspective compared to what Randy's perspective was? What is the plan going forward? And I think we'll have some more information for you.
Great. I'm sorry.
Nope, take care. Thank you.
Yep, I'll be back. Trish, I'm so sorry to miss your
I knew it
presentation,
was
but I'm
coming.
so
I knew it was
glad
coming.
that we're getting a videotape of it. We'll get to see it. Oh my God.
Had to forget about that.
Well, I shouldn't have said anything. She's
No
gonna be a
pressure.
star.
We got 3 other items, the Employee Advisory Committee. Are we all aware of what the advisory committee wants to do?
I am generally, and,
Yeah.
I think board discussion of what would be
Okay.
the first.
Great. And this is something Mark highlighted, he said, I really want to get that, the board's approval and hopefully grant that. And that was basically the whole discussion was that employee advisory
Yep.
committee. He really, really wants to get that moving forward and get going. So here's hoping that we approve that tonight, or I'll give the blessings to say, hey, it's green light, go ahead with it. So, all right, yeah, I didn't think it'd be I just- I don't
No,
know
I
who's
think it's
gonna-
great.
I don't know if we're gonna have an issue with it, so, okay. And the digital sign, location cost and fundraising, I don't know where we're at with that. Anyway, there is a fundraising committee, and it's internal at the school. Do you know anything about this? Mark talked about it, I stopped paying attention though, so I forget what he said.
I think that's middle school student council.
I think so.
Is that?
Correct.
I didn't wanna say, I knew it was student council, but,
Yeah.
I thought there was another, something else too.
The high school student council is interested in helping out raise
Okay.
funds for it.
What are you looking to do exactly?
It's
I
a
don't
digital
understand.
sign out there that was on one of our last recent
It was on the community survey.
survey, yep. And don't know where that scored exactly on popularity vote, but
Not very high.
not very
Yeah, it
high.
wasn't very high for levy
No.
dollars.
So I think the
to a whole different level.
fundraising mechanism
Bring it
was
to a
the
whole nother
discussion
level.
of if we could do in-house fundraising and then have a digital sign for events out on the campus.
Oh,
So when
okay.
parents are dropping the kids, oh my gosh, we've got parent teacher, conferences coming.
Okay.
Or a choir concert.
Our choir, band, right. Our council paid for this.
Right.
So, that's more of a kind of an update where you guys are